This is your business.
Hello and welcome. I'm Robert Johnston, Vice President for the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, and this is Your Business. This is a brand new show about, for, and by the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce and its members. Today we'll be talking with Delaware business leader, President and CEO of Happy Harry's, Alan Levin. Later we'll be heading to Georgetown for that Delaware Tradition Returns Day for a look at the 144th Assembly and what it means to Delaware businesses. We'll be right back with CEO and President of Happy Harry's, Alan Levin. Don't go away.
If you're paying too much for costly print or newspaper ads, or would like to try television advertising, then give Positive Promotions a call at 302-292-3994. Or to find out more about our television and video production services, go to our website at www.posprotv.com.
Do you recognize this man? If you've lived in Delaware for any time at all, you've seen this face. Maybe on a billboard, maybe on the side of a storefront, maybe on the side of a shopping bag. Harry Levin, or Happy Harry as we know him, has been a Delaware icon since he opened his first store in 1962. Sadly, he passed away in 1987, but his vision for a community drugstore that combined great customer service with great prices has been carried on by his son, Alan. There are currently 75 Happy Harry stores in Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And our guest today is the person who's been largely responsible for that tremendous growth, Alan Levin. Alan, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Rob. Good to be here.
It's interesting when I have guests in from out of town, and we run down to Happy Harry's to pick something up. They often ask, they look at the store and they kind of think for a minute and they say, what, Happy Harry, where did that come from? Now, I know Harry was your dad, but where did the name Happy Harry come from?
Well, I used to tell people his real name was Happy, and we just added Harry, but that wasn't true. It was an advertising idea that came up in 1963, 64. He had just opened his second store in Newark, and he was meeting with a ad salesman from Wham's Radio, WMS. And it was at 10 o'clock at night. My father was locking the doors at the store at Marsh Road. And as he was walking to meet this guy, he says, "Here comes that old Happy Harry." Yeah. And as my father used to say, I was just smart enough to pick it up, but I think it really fit the man. Right. Because quite frankly, you couldn't have called him Happy Harry if it really wasn't the way he was. Right. So it really fit him.
Interesting. Now, the original store was just simply called Discount Center, is that right?
That's correct. It was 600 square feet, which to put it in proper perspective would be 1/30th the size of the store at Braemar Plaza.
Is that right? So, okay. Now, had he done anything else besides retail, or was that?
He grew up in retail. My grandfather operated a grocery store. In those days, it really was just a grocery store at Shawcross and Scott Street, which was, and then he enlarged that and moved it to Lancaster Avenue. My father and my grandfather worked together, and his brother worked with him as well. And one day they just had an agreement to disagree, and they parted company. So that was it. And that was back in 1960.
And that's kind of how it got started. But it continued on. A lot of stores, a lot of family-owned businesses don't make it. This one has. Sure. What do you think has been the philosophy that's made this store so successful?
I think the philosophy was pretty simple. It was people taking care of people. Yeah. It was trying to treat our employees right, and they in turn would treat our customers right. So that's what kept bringing people back. This company was born at a time when Delaware was going through the fair trade laws, in the sense that we always had in Delaware, and up until around 1970, 1968, fair trade laws, which meant that the manufacturers set the pricing for products, and they were not allowed to be discounted. My father thought that was kind of ridiculous. If he could buy it at a better price, why not pass it on to the consumer? And that's what he did. He got sued by countless manufacturers, Gillette, Revlon, Gina Tay, and what he used to do was he took the suits, the lawsuits, and would plaster them at the front register.
Right?
So when the customers would walk in and see this, they'd say, "Oh, that's great, Harry. Keep on trying to save us money."
That's great.
And so that's what happened. He was probably the impetus in Delaware to get rid of fair trade, at least on the health and beauty aid side.
Right.
So that's how it started.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, one of the things I noticed, and I was just in one of the stores the other night, wide variety of merchandise, from your everyday items to souvenir items and gift items and things like that. The one thing I noticed the most, though, is the people that are there, the staff. Smiling, happy, friendly. When you walk in, someone says hello, they say thank you. How does it can't be a coincidence. How do you go about creating that kind of an atmosphere in your stores now?
Well, how do we do that? It starts with hiring the right people. And you know, what we do is not rocket science. I mean, it is really, you buy a product, you sell it, and you hope that you make a profit doing it, and that you treat the consumer in the right way so that they want to come back and continue to shop with you. In our case, when I used to do the personnel hiring 20 years ago, what I always would do is talk to the individual and say, I can train you how to run a register, I can train you to stock a shelf, price merchandise, but I can't teach you to smile. Now, if the individual would put a grin on and say, huh, that's cool, you know, then you knew that that person had the right attitude. If what you got was a fake grin or some, huh, you knew you didn't want that person, because quite frankly, you can't teach attitude. You can teach every other skill, but you can't teach attitude. So, quite frankly, that's what we look for, people that can smile. And outside of, you know, pharmacists, which obviously have to have some professional training, but for the most part, that's all it is just having the right attitude. That's great. So,
well, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the big news of Happy Harry's and the merger with Walgreens, and a couple other questions that I'm sure you're going to want to hear. So we'll be right back. See you then.